buzzers, welcome again to another day with us in the backyard apiary. Alright, so a lot of things have been happening in the apiary. Ackee trees have been blooming for pretty much a week. As I told you in the first video, all of these hives are kind of in a build-up state, you know, so they weren't necessarily super strong enough where they're gonna store a lot of surplus nectar. They're kind of gonna use this nectar kind of build up, right? And so right now I'll show you in a bit of how all of them have their initial supers. I think there's like just one. I still don't put a super on it, and that's because the queen isn't building up quite well, and it seems as if she's underperforming. So eventually that specific colony will need to basically cull that queen and just replace it with another active colony, right? But we're not gonna do that today. We're gonna let it keep going for a while till we can figure out which other colony we're gonna put at that spot. But right now what we have here to show you is a colony that we underestimated. You know, it was in a 4-frame nuke, and so while going through the Ackee flow, they built out the foundation sheet that we gave them, and they started to build a lot of burrcomb in the top section of the box. All right, so this is pretty much what they've done, as you can see. All right, so this is how they're looking. Really loving the temperament of this colony. They're not overly aggressive. They seem very calm. We've actually just shaked out quite a bit of them from the top cover into the 10-frame box, which we're gonna move it over to. And they're not coming out at me and trying to sting me, so this is a very good sign for this colony. Really loving that. So as I said, foundation sheet we gave them, it built it out completely, and the queen has laid brood in it pretty much left to right, top to bottom. Yeah, see that? Looking really good. The queen seemed to be laying really well. They're building up pretty good, so we might even try making some daughters from her. You know, we love to see these good signs. From what I'm seeing, they're storing honey decent. We don't know how well they're able to kind of utilize their stores though, so it's a bit tricky. That's one of the things I would love to know before we make daughters from her, you know, just to see if they're able to kind of utilize their food properly without starving out on them or on their own. And that would kind of require them to go through a full season, but so far it's looking pretty good. Yeah, brood, they're still bringing in nectar. So as I said, what we're doing right now is just transferring it to a bigger box. We can't let it stay in this small box, or else more than likely they'll start thinking about swarming. We can definitely see they're making some drones on the previous frame to this. But yeah, this queen is laying. She's actually even on this frame laying. That's crazy. I don't know if I can show you. I can't point it because if I let me see if I can point her out. She's at the bottom here, right here. She was actually laying. So probably when I'm editing the video, I'll see if I can indicate if it was caught on camera when she was laying. So she's very calm. That's good. All right, so the last frame here we're gonna move over now. Yep. All right, so the downside is that we don't have a lot of foundation sheets left. All the production hives kind of used up all the sheets that we have, so these little nukes are just gonna have to get totally empty frames. Now the thing is, you don't want to put too much empty frames beside each other, so I'm just putting in 3 at this time, you know. So we're putting 1 on each end, and we're checkerboarding in 1 between 2 of the frames, right? Now the thing is, when you give bees empty space like that, they're gonna build whatever comb they want, whatever cell size. So we're gonna expect these frames to have more drone comb than usual, especially now that they're in the state where they're really compact and they might have been in a swarm tendency. Given that food is coming in abundance now, they're more inclined to actually build drone comb when you give them the space to do so. So we might see a little bit more drone comb than usual. That we have to understand. You know, we don't have any foundation sheets for them to just build pure worker cells, so we just have to just give and take there. But this colony, if we left it in that nuke, guarantee you probably in the next couple weeks, a week or two, we might have come back and see them try to make swarm cells, because they were growing exponentially large or larger, especially because if you remember, all 4 of these frames that I took out were fully capped. You know, we have a few empty spots that the queen is laying in, but she's running out of space to lay, and once they start doing that, it's gonna build up into a swarm tendency. So this is kind of the impact a flow can have on smaller colonies. You really need to observe them and potentially expand them out into a bigger colony so they can utilize the influx of the nectar better. If we had expanded it just before the flow started, we could have potentially had probably 2 or even 3 of these frames built out, because you see they build burr comb. The burr comb that they built in the top here was probably a half a frame. If we had given them the space from early, they would have probably built out that entire frame or 2 in the space of the week. You know, a lot of nectar was coming in, and the bees were getting enough food to kind of supplement them building comb. Sometimes you have to give and take. I was late on this and I have to accept that. We probably have 1 or 2 days left of the Aki flow or the Aki nectar coming in, so they might start to build a little bit of comb overnight, but I don't think I'm gonna get any full comb built anytime soon, probably, because once it's finished we're gonna have a little break potentially where we don't get nectar for a little while, or it could be different. You know, definitely the environment is moving a little bit weird this year, so anything is possible, but we definitely have to expand them. So that's what we have done. The last bit now, we have a Oopsie there. Last bit we have to do here. Alright guys, you see how that happened just now? We don't even have any bees trying to really sting us. Probably if we didn't probably if we weren't in the suit, they would have been around us more. But look at this, all of them, they're just trying to go back to the hive. No bees really. Well, we have 1 there trying to sting us now, but that's a pretty good thing. See that little Oopsie we had just now, we're not getting super aggression from them as opposed to some other colonies. If we did that, we'd have 1,000 bees around us trying to sting us already. Alright, so this expanded out. We're gonna just need to go for a cover. I think we left the covers inside, so we need a cover to put over this, and yeah, we'll close it back up, and we'll give you a little tour of how the other hives are looking, and probably pop a few of the supers and show you what's happening in a few of the stronger ones. From so far, I don't think we're getting that excessive amount of nectar, because majority of it was used to kind of assist them in building out sheets of foundation and so forth. So bees tend to use that energy consumption of nectar as opposed to the energy to build comb. So if they're building a lot of comb, it's going to reduce the surplus nectar they're storing, you know, as opposed to if we had the combs built out already, we would have seen more storage. But as I said, we'll give you a little tour of that, so catch you guys in a bit. Alright, so the next thing we always try to do, if the colony isn't super large and so forth, we try to not give them the full entrance to utilize, especially given that they're really small. You know, as I said, they were only taking up probably half of the box. For when you have colonies that small in a big space, it's good to reduce the entrance a bit so they can guard it better, and it also allows them to kind of regulate the temperature a little bit better in the box as well. So I'm just gonna use this board here. That will kind of close off half of the entrance, and that's about even a little bit larger than the entrance that I had before, so it's quite fine, you know. So this hive is pretty much good now, and we can just leave them be and check on them probably in the next 2 weeks or a week or so, just to see if they're building any comb and what the progress is. And we kind of have to just keep an eye on it just to make sure there's no swarm tendency building up in it. All right, so let me see if I can give you a little panoramic view of the apiary. As you can see, majority of the colonies, I should say all of them, with the exception of one, have on a single super so far. This time of the year when I'm trying to assist them into building up and so forth, we don't have on any queen excluder, so it's just a deep box. And then on the super is gonna be a shallow, pretty much, and in the shallow is basically 5 built out comb and 4 other frame with just a foundation strip on it. We're trying to maximize everybody getting some built out comb so we can checker in the unbuilt frames so they can work on it going into the next season and as well as in the next season as well. So that's kind of the process. So all of them, what we didn't put on some of them too early. We kind of allowed the bees to kind of fill out the deep box, as you saw in the first video. And once we saw where they were on 10 frame of bees and they were building out the sheets of foundation that we gave them, and especially some of them were even building a little burr comb in the top, you know, so that's even a better sign for us that they needed the super to put the excess nectar. It may not have been a lot of excess nectar that's coming in to kind of fill in the combs, but once they had the comb up above as empty space to put that nectar, it would take away the pressure in the brood area. You know, the bees would move up the nectar in the brood into the supers and give the queen the relief she needed in the brood area, and that would assist in taking off any swarm tendency building up and so forth. So this is how the apiary is looking. Alright, so at the front here we have one hive. I think this is the one here. When we checked it yesterday, the queen isn't laying well, you know. She's like stuck on probably about 3 frame of brood right in on the, well, this is my right side, and then all of the frames to the left are being packed in with nectar. So when you see that happening, it usually means the queen isn't viable, because if the queen was viable, she would have forced them to put the nectar somewhere else and start building out the foundation sheet and potentially building burr comb, you know. So for me, that just shows me that that queen definitely needs to be removed from that position and culled, because it won't develop into anything pretty much into the season, you know. We definitely need to be seen. You see how we had that nuke that we showed you in the early parts of the video that was building up. It had 4 frame of brood, and you can see it's 4 nice cap frame of brood. That's what we want to see from our queens. This one didn't have that, you know. So potentially it was one of those queens that probably never got mated properly or effectively, and yeah, we moved her to a position, production position, because we're emptying out all the mating castles. So that's fine. We're seeing this time of the year is a good time to kind of see who has the potential to give you honey, and you try to remove them from the apiary and put new colonies there. Now, with how my system is set up, I always have like reserve hives and new queens to put in there. For you that don't have that system in place, then you have to think about, all right, how am I gonna replace that? You know, if you're just making a split, you're gonna be down quite a long while. You're looking at probably about 2 months. You're not gonna be able to do much with that, because 2 months time you're gonna require them to make a new queen. That queen go out and get mated and start really laying and pushing out new generations of bees. So 2 months is probably a good estimated potential downtime that spot is gonna be if you want to replace it, if you don't have a system like mine. Yeah, so definitely you need to have system in place where you have reserve hives, new queens readily available, to kind of just swap into spaces when you have a down position. Yeah, so yeah, as I see at the back there, everybody has their super. We still have a few reserve hives, but most of these reserve hives that you're seeing left over, especially like these two here, I think I'm gonna actually replace the queens in them. Don't like how defensive they are, so more than likely when we have some new queens coming out of the mating castles, we'll cull those queens, utilize the brood to make new mating castles, and then put a new little mate newt there, so they can inherit the foragers that are already there. This white one is a queen we're saving back. Pretty much this, I think this queen is almost 2 years old. I might be wrong because I may have replaced her. She may have been the daughter. She might be the daughter of that older queen. I'm not sure if they had replaced her, but you know, we'll check on her. We want to keep her back just to see what's happening with it, or with her. Yeah, and see if we can potentially make some daughters in the future. But we're definitely seeing a few other queens that are more calmer, gentler, that we're trying to prioritize making daughters from those queens. So that's what I think we're gonna prioritize this year, just making a lot of daughters from the gentler stocks and picking the best from that lot. Yeah, so I'm gonna pop into this one right here, just the super, to give you take a peek and to give you a glimpse of what some of the frames are looking like in there. Alright, so just looking in the top cover, there's not a lot of bees in the top cover. It's relatively low, so I know this colony wouldn't necessarily need, that's one sign to say, alright, this colony don't need a next super. Alright, now let's give you a top view of how it's looking. So as I told you before, most of these supers, or all of the supers, have 5 built out combs. So they're checkered in 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, and then 4 frames with just strips. Looking at the frames with the strips, there's no sign that they're building out the strips as yet, so we know definitely they haven't filled in the built out comb we gave them before, right? Now we do see activity on the combs. Like this one here, we're seeing quite a bit of activity in terms of bees present on it, so we know they've packed in this pretty decent with nectar. Probably not filled it or anything, but it's being packed in. You can see the glistening happening both left and right, and you can see they did repairs to the comb and so forth. You can see small little specks of white and stuff. They call out, bees are whiting up, that's what they refer to it as, and that's what they typically do when they're storing nectar and stuff in comb and getting nectar. You know, they tend to start to do a lot of repairs to the cells and all of that. So with the new comb going over the older one, it looks a little bit more whiter and stuff like that. So they always say the bees are whiting up. The Aki flow for me in the home base right now is, I'm not really expecting them to give me much honey. Something extra would have to happen in the next couple of weeks or so, going to the end of the year, for like another good week or so of nectar coming in from either a next Aki bloom or some other floral source, for them to really start packing in that full super that's on it, you know. And definitely from this hive that I just showed you or gave you a glimpse of, those frames aren't even close to being capped. I don't think they're even filled in. They're not filled in 100%, as you can see from that one frame. So we're gonna have to just be patient with these bees here. The good thing is, I think from what I've seen so far, all of them are showing me signs that they're gonna build up and yeah, we just have to just give them the time, and hopefully the environment and the climate really is ideal for them to be productive. Alright guys, so as usual, thanks for tuning in. Your time was greatly appreciated. Just want to implore you to give the video a like, share with your friends, and definitely hit that subscription and notification bell so you can see when new videos come out. And peace out.